So do you remember when we drove the 2015 Hyundai Sonata in 2014 literally out of its Montgomery, Alabama factory? Well, since then, actually just last week, Hyundai has introduced two new versions of this car, a hybrid and a plug-in hybrid. This is in addition to the ECO that they introduced after our first drive. So let's talk about all three and drive this one. So welcome to Palos Verdes. We're in Malaga Cove here. This is the library here. So this is like the northernmost part of Palos Verdes. Basically, Torrance is over there and Redondo Beach is over there. So we're gonna go kind of like to the center of the shopping area of Malaga Cove here and start our trek to circumnavigate the Ranchos or the Palos Verdes Peninsula. So, what do we got? I think there's really two main differences here. There's the engine and there's the transmission. I think we need to start with how does this engine perform in this application? And really the important thing here is this is a D-segment car. This is a big car, people. I mean, look back there, there's a lot of space. But we only have a 1.6 liter engine. Does that really help us here? I've been driving this thing for a week now, and there isn't an instance where this feels ridiculously underpowered. Is it a Mercedes-Benz S63? No, it definitely is not. Oh, and we got to point out here, MPG. That's the whole point of this thing. We're starting out from Malaga Cove with 27.6 average MPG. Now, this is rated at 28 around town, and I would call this around town. That's what this experiment. But our experiment is one with this beautiful peninsula that jets out into the Pacific Ocean, and the Pacific Ocean is over there. So when the 2016 Hyundai Sonata Hybrid and Hybrid plug-in join the lineup later on this year, technically what are going to be the differences, besides the obvious, from the ECO we have here? Well, first off, they're both going to have a 2-liter gas direct-injected 4-cylinder engine, putting out 154 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 140 pound-feet of torque at a relatively high 5,000 RPM. That's in contrast to the ECO's 1.6-liter 4-cylinder direct-injected turbocharged engine, putting out 177 horsepower at 5,500 RPM and 195 pound-feet of torque at a very low 1,500 RPM. Now, the hybrids have the advantage of an additional source of energy. In the case of the plain Jane hybrid, the electric motor generates 51 horsepower or 38 kilowatts of energy. If you prefer a plug with your hybrid, the electric motor there generates 67 additional horsepower or 50 kilowatts of energy. And that, besides the plug, is really the biggest difference between the two. Total system horsepower on the plug-in hybrid is 202 horsepower over 193 in the plain Jane hybrid. Now, if we're being honest with each other, no one really buys these things for the power, they buy them for the fuel economy. So let's start with the gas hog of the bunch. According to the US government, the ECO returns 28 mpg city, 38 highway, and 32 combined. Moving on to the hybrid, 41 mpg city, 44 highway, and 42 combined. Then there's the plug-in hybrid. 38 city, 43 highway, and 40 combined. If you're paying attention, that's actually lower. But wait, there's more. It has an EV range of 22 miles, MPG equivalent of 93. Now, to get those 22 miles, charging time ranges between 2.5 and 5 hours, all depending on the level charger you're connected to. Last, but certainly not least, a bit of a surprise, and a good one at that. You know how most cars that focus on MPG don't have any gears? Well, all of these do. In the case of the hybrids, it's a 6-speed automatic. In the ECO, it's a 7-speed dual clutch. So we're going to come to a stop here, and this is a great example. This is a great opportunity to show one of the main differences I see about this car. So I'm going to accelerate, not ridiculous, put my foot into it a little bit, and look what it does. It shifts very quickly. That's one of the big differences from this car to the base Sonata or even the Turbo Sonata. I would say it shifts too quickly for my liking. I remember I used to date this girl, and her father bought manual transmissions. One, because it was cheaper back in the day, and two, the fuel economy was better. The way he would drive it, it was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. He'd shift so fast to get the car up to the highest gear and get the car to the highest fuel economy. And I thought he was crazy back then, and we used to make fun of him as, Wally is cheap, and he used to buy like store brand rack o cookies. But you know what? The man was brilliant, because he drove a Honda Accord with a stick, but he was the millionaire next door. And now for something completely different. Have you guys ever heard of Emanuel Swedenborg? He was a scientist, a philosopher, and a theologian. With a name like Swedenborg, I don't think it takes a scientist to really determine where this man came from. Emanuel, he reached some notoriety by studying under Sir Isaac Newton, but then the story goes later on in life, God had spoken to him, and then he had decided to change the direction of his life more into the philosophy and then add theology. So much so that by the time of his death, he wrote 30 books, which formed the basis of the Swedenborgian religion. Now you're probably asking, how does that relate to where you are right now? Well, we're sitting at the edge of the Pacific Ocean, and it's a quaint place, a great place to have a house of worship, one kind of like that one. And this isn't just your normal run-of-the-mill house of worship. This one was designed by Lloyd Wright. Sounds familiar, right? Well, he was the son of Frank Lloyd Wright. And if you followed the studies of Frank Lloyd Wright, like Taliesin West in Arizona, the general idea of Frank Lloyd Wright was you want to bring the structure and the surroundings together. You don't want the structure to disturb the surroundings. And that is exactly what they've done here, where this structure is effectively a glass house high atop the trees overlooking the Pacific Ocean. So it is literally bringing Southern California and the ocean into the structure itself. So that's Lloyd Wright and his famous father, Frank Lloyd Wright. Now let's go back to Emanuel Swedenborg. The one thing I forgot to tell you is that his home was in Stockholm, so lower part of Sweden. And there's a story that he was visiting friends for a dinner party in Gothenburg, which is about 400 kilometers away. This is back in the day of no telephone, no internet. And it came to him at the dinner party that his house and other houses were on fire. People looked at him, I guess back in the day, they were looking, how do you know this? Like, you gotta be nuts. Well, it proved to be the case that his neighborhood was indeed on fire, although not his home. So much so to the point that the Queen of Sweden, the legend goes, would consult Emanuel Swedenborg. So on that note, hey. Okay, so as we make our way back around the peninsula, the south, I want to say southwest side of the peninsula, there's this broken pavement, and it actually has a lot of dips in it, so it's almost like a roller coaster. And this really brings up a good point of the Hyundai, and one of the important, I think, shortfalls of the Hyundai is the driving dynamics. And we talked about this in other films. I have not been shy about telling you how I feel about this. Basically, all the money that they put into value, like heated rear seats and all this other stuff that they give you that you wouldn't get in other cars, you get in the Hyundai. And here we got traffic, we're behind a BMW and a mobile pet grooming salon. I guess that's what you get when you go to a fancy side of town. But I digress. So that rear suspension, that's where they pull it from. That's where they pull the value from, or where the money from, I should say. And I just think that's the weak point of most Hyundais. That's the weak point of the Hyundai Elantra. That's the weak point of the Sonata. That's the weak point of the Accent. The driving dynamics just aren't there. But here's the good news, folks. Hyundai knows that's the weak point. So have you seen our Hyundai Genesis film? You know, the one with the V8 where we're driving the car with Matthew Becker, then of Lotus, good friend of the show. But now he is the chief engineer of vehicle dynamics for Aston Martin. So I guess that answers the question of what does a Hyundai and an Aston Martin have in common? Same engineer. Just like life is not all Hyundais, Palos Verdes is not all fancy homes. Palos Verdes is actually home to one of the best parks in Southern California. It's called Abalone Cove, and it is home to these stunning tide pools, which are just in the distance over there. So basically you can take this trail all the way down to the beach, follow it along to the bluff over there, and you can hang out in tide pools. But wait, there's more. If you time it just right, meaning come at low tide, you can make your way around the cove and find a real-life cave. We have now officially circumnavigated the Palos Verdes Peninsula, and the official result is 28.9 mpg. We have beat the EPA estimate for this car for the city by almost 1 mile per gallon. So in summary, what do we got here? Putting aside this whole driving dynamics issue we got back here, Hyundai, man, they are killers. I mean, if I was their competition, I'd be terrified. Here, most competition, like Honda, Ford, all those guys, you basically get a gas model, you get a hybrid model, and in some cases, you get a plug-in hybrid model. Hyundai, they don't take this stuff lying down. You've got the gas model, a couple of versions of the gas model, you've got the fuel-efficient gas model, you've got a hybrid, and you've got a plug-in hybrid. Which brings about a very good question. Which one would you buy? Between, put aside the regular gas models, the gas fuel-efficient eco model, the hybrid, and then the plug-in hybrid. Now granted, the plug-in hybrid and the hybrid will be more expensive than this because you have a raft of batteries and 2 propulsion systems. So let us know in the comments below, but don't just let us know which one you would buy, tell us why you would buy it. So let us know in the comments below or via our social networks, MotoManTV, all one word, MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And oh, by the way, why aren't you sharing our episodes with your friends via your social networks? Perhaps you should start sharing us via Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and maybe we will shower you with fabulous cash and prizes. Or maybe we'll just give you the crap we get for free from the car manufacturers. Either way, you never know. So start sharing us with your friends. MotoManTV, all one word, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make it happen. Peace out, suckers. So here's the script. Click here to subscribe. Click here to watch one of our 350 other episodes. And most importantly, share us with your friends. You're already wasting half your life on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. MotoManTV, all one word. I don't care who you share us with. Share us with your enemies. Just give the gift of MotoMan.